Yeah, as I see what's happening right now is the Republicans are turning to their 2000 Florida playbook and using that as a basis for the orchestrated effort we're seeing right now by the president and the Republicans to undermine the election process.
President Trump told reporters over the weekend, this is a quote, "We're going to go in night of, as soon as that election is over, we're going in with our lawyers." What happens? How does it play out if President Trump declares victory on election night before all the votes are counted?
Well, I think the real key here is, the critical issue this time around is the vote by mail ballots. And the president has done everything he could in his being to, undermine the credibility of vote by mail ballots. He's claimed that they are fraudulent. He's tried to defund the post office. And the Republican lawsuits at this point have been designed to oppose laws that states have enacted to try and make vote by mail voting easier for people and to make it easier on election officials to count those ballots. And the reality is, with vote by mail ballots, that many of them don't get processed until after election night, particularly in these circumstances where we're seeing such high levels of voting taking place. Election officials are inundated with ballots. And there is a disparity among states between allowing election officials to begin counting those ballots now. Many states have already begun tallying the ballots. They're not allowed to actually push the button and see the results of those ballots, but they're allowed to begin the process of verifying vote by mail ballots and putting them into the system. Other states have to wait until election night to do that. So we are going to see a delay from some states, and I think the key is going to be which of those states are going to be delayed and how conclusive are the votes going to be by election night.
And Stephen, just to pick up on that, if there is a contested result, the closest precedent that we have to that is what happened back in 2000. And of course, you're an expert, as Juliana mentioned, you were a part of the attorney group for Al Gore, representing Al Gore at the time. But what we saw back then was the case got escalated all the way up to the Supreme Court, which eventually ended up voting in favor of the Republican President George Bush back then in 2000. But again, and crucially, along ideological lines. What type of precedent does that set for today, especially given the current composition of the Supreme Court, which is leaning a bit more towards the conservative side?
It sets a terrible precedent. And, the decision that was rendered in that case was a political decision. And I'm sure that the Republicans and the president are relying on that, quote, precedent for what may come out of this election. And you heard the president at the beginning of this segment talking about the lawyers running in on election night to try and disenfranchise voters who have done nothing but follow the rules and try and cast their ballots. And it's beyond me why in this day of an age, the Republicans insist on trying to limit people's ability to vote instead of trying to expand and make opportunities available for everybody to get their ballots cast and to get them counted.